Welcome to this week's rant, which is being recorded for the second time. And it's not Sunday because I recorded it on Sunday and the gremlins crept back into the woodwork. And so I'm recording this one again. And I've got to record next week's again, which I'm pre-recording. So if you see me in the same outfit next week, you'll know why. This week's rant is entitled Drum Wars, all will become clear in a minute. But before we get going, we have to do the normal parish notices, which are, if you haven't subscribed, why not? If you want to be notified about when videos are posted to the channel, that's the bell icon you want to click as well. If you like the contents of the video, that's the thumbs up you need to give it. Really helps the video on the YouTube algorithm. Become a member of the TMTG community. The link address is down there, as are the Facebook and Instagram feeds where all the other stuff is announced. But now, back to the video. So the drum machine movement marches on. And about 5 years ago, and I can't really believe it was 5 years ago, but 5 years ago, all of a sudden, there was this talk of a new drum machine being brought to market. Roland were starting to get some feelers out there to sort of see how this thing was gonna be received. This thing was called Aria. Aria. I know I get told off quite a lot for that. But it became clear that Aria was a badge, and it was a badge for a range of instruments that Roland was bringing to market that mimicked instruments of the past. So along came something called analog circuitry behavior, ACB. And I've talked about ACB in the past, so I'm not going to talk about it again. And at the front of this charge was the TR8. Now, we've all seen the TR8. It was a drum machine that looked like a drum machine. It had all the pretty buttons on the front. They all flashed when the step sequencer ran. You had the individual faders. You could vary the tones of the attack and the delay. It was a drum machine. But what was really great about the TR8 and where it started to refresh the market for drum machines is in this box you got an 808 and a 909 that had been faithfully reproduced with this ACB technology, to the point where I saw people put these things on oscilloscopes with the original units, and the instrument traces on the oscilloscope were they weren't quite on, but they were almost exactly the same as the original instrument. That's how good a job Roland did. So we shouldn't say anything about them, but they were very, very good machines. But you got two legendary machines for under $400, or about $400, should we say. Now that was epic to restart, what I see as restarting the drum machine wars that we currently seem to be heading into. A good 808 at the moment, if you were to buy one on the open market that hadn't been completely befuddled by aftermarket mods, would probably set you back maybe £4,000. A 909, similar sort of money, probably slightly less, but you get the drift. And you got all that for $400. Then Roland went on to surpass themselves, and all of a sudden the boutique range came along. And not only did you get a mini clone of the 808, you got a mini clone of the 909. And again, I saw videos of people putting these things on oscilloscopes against the original unit, and because it was on the same technology basis, just you got one instrument. I do think Roland were milking the whole concept a little bit, I have to be honest. But these mimicked the 808 and the 909, being the TR08 and the TR09. And I possess both of those, and I use them quite a lot, apart from the fact at the moment they are actually in the box in storage. But I have used them quite a lot in the past. And the great thing about these boutiques was they were about a quarter of the size of the original unit, which is fab because, it's about that by that rather than that by that. They were portable, I do have my problems with the boutique range, I have to be honest, but effectively, you've got the 808 and the 909 looking like the original in a smaller form factor with all the same knobs and buttons and a few enhancements, but it was modern technology. It did the same thing, but it was on modern technology. So these things should last you a while longer than the original ones that need maintenance. And then Roland did it again, and they came out with the TR8S, and then dumped support for the TR8. So anybody who wants a TR8, you're either onto eBay, and there's a link below that will take you there, or you're buying the new TR8S, and there's a link to Thorman down there as well, and they will ship you the TR8S, postage already included. So that was kind of the Roland reigniting this drum machine area. But not to be outdone, Behringer then pitched up. And what did Behringer do? Well, Behringer have effectively released the 808. They call it the RD8. It's called a rhythm designer, not a rhythm performer, is it? Rhythm composer. But effectively, it's the RD8. It's a similar size. It's brand new electronics, built on the same kind of ACB modelling technology that Roland are using. And I have to be honest and say I am very impressed with mine. Yes, I am a sucker for this sort of stuff. The 808 arrives. We're waiting for the 909 to arrive. We've seen lots of tempting videos being pumped out by Behringer to say it's coming, but we do know that there have been faults with the firmware that underlies this thing, and they're trying to fix those firmware issues. But it will arrive, and there will be a 909, and RD9 is the model number that Behringer have given it. And then, a couple of months ago, probably just after Christmas, all of a sudden, this thing called the RD6 arrived. Again, another Behringer machine. And you looked at this thing and thought, what is this RD6? Well, effectively, it's the TR606. Behringer have taken another Roland machine, and they've taken it and made it their own. But the Behringer machines are not clones, they're reimaginations, or reimagined, because they do more than the original machine did, but they do what the original machine did. So there's more functionality on them, but you can just use them as an 808, hopefully a 909 when it arrives, and a 606. Behringer released a number of other bits and bobs from this kind of sort of techno era. There is a TD3 I think it's called, which is effectively the TR303. And Roland have reimagined that as well into a boutique. So, you know, we're in this sort of space at the moment where Roland, not to be outdone, have also released a TR06 rhythm composer, which is a boutique version of the original TR606. And they've also released something called the TR6S, which is a modern machine that looks nothing like the old one, but is based on the old machine samples. That's how I understand this, using this ACB technology. And then Roland have also released, not to be outdone, they've released a cloud service VST of the 606 as well. And then we have Roland getting into the MC range. And they've released a set of sampling drum machines that's looking really at that space occupied by Akai in the MPC, the music and production control space. But these tones that are on the MPC are generated by this new Zen core technology that Roland is now using to faithfully reproduce the originals, but using a PCM base rather than using ACB. But while Roland and Behringer are effectively slugging it out to work out who can produce the best reimagined Roland drum machine, other manufacturers have been quietly moving into this space as well. Arturia entered the battleground in late 2016. Now, Arturia have had a sort of online drum machine for quite a while. It's VST that's been plugged into a DAW. But the Drumbro was effectively their version of the hardware version of their software version. Does that make sense? Its price point is squarely pointed at the TR-8S. There's no if, buts, or maybes. And the reimagined Behringer RD range. The machine is an extension of the, as I said, of the VST software. It's basically the hardware version. And, again, it's a fully functional. If you've been using Arturia, the drum machine, then, this is a hardware version. Now, if you're like me, while I use VSTs, it's not my primary modus operandi of recording. I don't tend to use VSTs in that way. I use VSTs in another way, and that's another video, to be honest. I'd rather have physical pieces of kit. I'd rather have my drum machine, which I can't grab with one hand, and I'd rather press the buttons, and I'd rather do my drum patterns that way. But the one thing I will say about Behringer and Arturia and a number of these other manufacturers is what they have done is made their machines class compliant. What does that mean? It means that you can effectively plug these machines into the USB of your PC or Mac, and those computers know how to play or how to interact with the drum machine. Roland requires drivers, and that's a different set of issues, and you've seen the videos if you've watched the channel on Catalina and what it's now doing to the driver market. Now, there is a worthy mention at this point for a young Florida upstart company called Either Instruments. Started about 2 years ago. There was a leak of what looked like a reimagining of the EMU SP1200. And they've made no apologies for the fact they have reimagined the SP1200 and called it the S2400. And this is kind of a concept between the MC machines, the MPC machines, and the original EMU machine in terms of what this thing does. And I might add at the moment it's getting fairly reasonable reviews from some very, very well-known music producers. If you go and watch various videos on YouTube, you'll see the S2400 being reviewed by a number of these guys. And it's been built to, bottom line is it's been built to withstand a nuclear war. I mean, this thing is built like a tank, and the guy designed it said that he wanted it really to take some damage, because drum machines do take damage. People hit buttons very hard on drum machines. So why is this company worthy of mention? I've bought one. That's the reason why it's worthy of a mention. All the way along, Korg have had the vocoder stuff. That's been quietly bubbling along in the background. It's been quietly evolving. Not a great fan of the vocoder, but it's a sassy little unit priced in a way that you might consider it as a worthy piece of kit to have in your studio. Then again, you might decide that you like something like the Electron Analog Rhythm Mark II. Solid drum machine, sample memory available to build a library of rhythm voices. High end of the market, they're very expensive. I've heard good things about the IK Media Uno drum. Personally, it wouldn't work for me. I don't like membrane keyboards. Price point comparable to a sort of Behringer RD6, so that sort of area. Be honest, don't know an awful lot about it from other than what I've read. But as I said, I looked at it and it's no good for finger drumming because it's got this membrane keyboard. Don't like anything with membrane keyboards. I used to have a Spectrum, had the classic membrane keyboard that was utterly rubbish. I've tried to avoid membrane keyboards all the way along. It was one of the reasons why I didn't buy a DX7 Mark I, because I didn't like the membrane keyboard. I'm so glad that when I did make the choice to go buy a DX7, I bought the Mark II. Anyway, and I saw this, and I have no idea how good this drum machine is, but somebody has effectively made this drum machine with its 1970s retro feel. It's the MFB 501 Pro. I'll be brutally honest with you. You look at this thing and you think it would look more in place in the film War Games than it does in any sort of modern studio. But you know what? Whatever floats your boat. That's the way I look at it on that one. But there you go. So, what conclusion can we draw from the fact that all these drum machines are starting to reappear in hardware format for you and I to spend our hard-earned cash on? Well, in the past, these machines were used for a genre of music that I love. I mean, I'm a boy of the 80s, come on. And the choice back then was kind of clear. If you wanted house music, 808. If you wanted rock and pop, Lindrum. The choice is not so clear anymore. Manufacturers are falling over themselves to provide new and reimagined machines to liberate cash from you and I. I've always said I like the analog feel of an instrument being in front of me. Whether it's a digital instrument, a computer-based instrument, whatever it happens to be, but if you're going to produce the music, I don't like producing music using VSTs in front of a door. To me, that's not producing music. Yes, you can write dance tunes and anthems and whatever you like that way. I mean, I've sat down and done it myself, but it's not playing the instrument. It's not analog to the sound generation. That's me. I like to be analog to the sound generation. I like to be able to press a button. I like to hear it latch. I like to be able to twiddle knobs in real time. I like to be able to press buttons. To me, that's how music is designed to be made. It's the interaction of the musician with the instrument. It's not the interaction of a software program with another software program. And the key thing for me with any instrument I buy is the knobs and the buttons have to be of a certain size that these fat fingers can get their hands on. Because if you can't press the button or twiddle the knobs in real time, when you want to be able to press the button, twiddle the knobs, press the key, hit a latch, whatever it happens to be, then you're not going to use the instrument going forward because it's just too hard to use. So that's kind of my take on drum machines. It's got to be physical, it's got to be there, and it's got to give me good quality sound. I wrote down on my notes here, oh, and it has to be good sound when recorded. Until next time, live long and prosper. Bye-bye.